Jake Morrison stepped off his cargo ship and into the crowded marketplace of Station Krill 9. The smell hit him first. It was a mix of unwashed bodies, strange alien foods, and something else he couldn't name. The station floated at the edge of known space, where the law didn't reach, and people did things they shouldn't. He pulled his jacket tighter and walked through the narrow metal corridors. Bright lights flashed from shop signs in languages he couldn't read. Aliens of all kinds pushed past him, some with scales, others with fur, and a few that looked like they were made of living crystal. Jake wasn't here to shop. He worked for the Frontier Coalition, a group that tried to stop criminals in space. They'd heard rumors of humans being sold as slaves on this station. His job was to find proof and report back. Nothing more. The marketplace opened up into a large room with a high ceiling. In the center stood a platform. Around it, a crowd of traders and buyers gathered. Jake's stomach turned. He knew what this place was. A slave auction. He moved closer, trying to blend in with the crowd. On the platform, an alien, with 4 arms and green skin, spoke into a microphone. The words came through Jake's translator earpiece as rough, mechanical speech. "Next item," the auctioneer said. "Lot 47. A female from the Valdran species. Name is Kailira. She comes from a royal family. But there is a problem. She is blind, cannot see anything. No good for hard work. Maybe good as a pet or decoration." The crowd barely reacted. Jake watched as guards led a slim figure onto the platform. She had pale, purple skin that seemed to glow softly under the harsh lights. Her hair was long and silver, falling past her shoulders. She wore a simple gray dress that was torn in places. Metal chains wrapped around her wrists and ankles. But what caught Jake's attention was how she carried herself. Her back was straight, her head held high. Even though she couldn't see the crowd staring at her, she showed no fear. Her eyes were a milky white color, and they stared forward at nothing. "Starting price is 200 credits, the auctioneer announced. No one moved. No one raised a hand. Jake felt anger burning in his chest. He'd seen a lot of bad things in his 15 years of space travel, but this felt worse somehow. This was a person. Someone who used to be a princess. Now she was being sold like an old piece of furniture. "Come on," the auctioneer said, sounding annoyed. "She's from a royal family. That must be worth something. 150 credits? Anyone?" Still nothing. Some people in the crowd turned away, looking for more interesting items to buy. Jake's mind raced. He shouldn't get involved. His mission was just to watch and report. Buying a slave would use up his credits. It might blow his cover. It was stupid and dangerous. But he couldn't stop thinking about his sister, Emma. She'd died 5 years ago in a raider attack. She'd always told him to do the right thing, even when it was hard, especially when it was hard. His hand went up before he could stop himself. 500 credits, Jake called out. The entire room went quiet. Heads turned to stare at him. The auctioneer's face split into a wide smile. "We have a bid. 500 credits from the human. Anyone want to go higher?" The crowd looked at Jake like he was crazy. Going once, going twice, sold to the human. Jake pushed through the crowd to the payment station. His hands shook slightly as he transferred the credits from his account. Half his mission budget, gone in seconds. His boss was going to kill him. The auctioneer handed him a small device. "This controls her chains. She's all yours. Enjoy your purchase, human." Jake took the device and walked to the platform. The guards had moved Kailira to the side, waiting for her new owner. As he got closer, she turned her head slightly, listening to his footsteps. "Hello," Jake said softly. He pressed the button on the device. The chains around her wrists and ankles clicked open and fell to the floor with a metallic clang. Kailira's expression changed to surprise. Her mouth opened slightly. "You paid more than I'm worth," she said. Her voice was quiet but clear. She spoke standard language with an accent that made each word sound musical. Why would you do that? Why would you do that? Because you're not property, Jake replied. You're a person. And where I come from, we don't buy and sell people. She tilted her head, her white eyes moving as if trying to see him. What's your name? Jake. Jake Morrison. Can you walk okay? Yes, she said. I've been blind since birth. I know how to move. Good. Let's get out of here. He offered his arm, and after a moment of hesitation, she took it. Her hand was small and cool against his jacket. Together, they walked through the crowd. People stared and whispered, but Jake ignored them. The walk back to his ship felt longer than it was. Kalira said nothing, but he could feel her tension. She probably thought he was just another buyer with bad intentions. His ship, the Wanderer's Rest, sat in Docking Bay 12. It wasn't fancy, just a small cargo vessel with living quarters and a basic engine. But it was home. Watch your step, Jake said as they climbed the entry ramp. There's a raised lip at the door. She stepped carefully, her free hand reaching out to touch the doorframe. Once inside, she paused, her head moving as she listened to the hum of the ship's systems. It's small, she observed. Yeah, but it flies, Jake said. Come on. I'll show you where you can stay. He led her through the narrow corridor to the guest quarters. The room was tiny, with just a bunk, a storage locker, and a small attached bathroom. But it was clean and private. This is your room, Jake explained. He took her hand and guided it to touch the wall, the bunk, the door to the bathroom. Everything works by voice command. Just say what you need, and the ship's computer will help you. Kalira sat on the edge of the bunk. She ran her fingers over the blanket, feeling its texture. What do you want from me? She asked. The question hung in the air between them. Nothing, Jake said honestly. I'm heading to Coalition space. I'll take you somewhere safe. After that, you're free to go wherever you want. Free, she repeated the word like it was foreign. I haven't been free in a long time. Well, you are now. She was quiet for a moment. Then she looked up in his direction, and he saw tears forming in her white eyes. Thank you, she whispered. Jake felt his throat tighten. Get some rest. We'll leave the station in an hour. If you need anything, just call for me. The computer will find me. He started to leave, but her voice stopped him. Jake Morrison, she said. Why did you really buy me? Tell me the truth. He turned back. Because nobody deserves to be treated like they're worthless. And because someone once told me to do the right thing, even when it's hard. Kalira smiled then. It was small and sad, but real. Your someone was very wise, she said. Yeah, Jake agreed, thinking of Emma. She was. He left her alone to rest and headed to the cockpit. As he started the pre-flight checks, he wondered what he'd just gotten himself into. He'd blown his mission budget, bought a slave at an illegal auction, and now had a blind alien princess on his ship with nowhere to go. His boss was definitely going to kill him. But when he thought about the way Kalira had stood on that platform, proud, despite everything, he knew he'd made the right choice. Sometimes doing the right thing meant breaking the rules. Emma would have understood that. Jake finished the checks and sent a message to the station control, requesting departure clearance. As the ship's engines rumbled to life beneath him, he allowed himself a small smile. Whatever came next, at least Kalira was free. That had to count for something. The first 3 days were awkward. Kalira stayed in her room most of the time. Jake brought her meals and left them by her door. She thanked him politely but didn't say much else. He understood. She probably didn't trust him yet. After everything she'd been through, why would she? On the 4th day, Jake was in the galley trying to make something that resembled food. The ship's supplies were basic, mostly dried goods and nutritional paste. He mixed some paste with water and added flavor packets. The result looked gray and smelled worse. That smells terrible, a voice said behind him. Jake jumped and turned around. Kaylira stood in the doorway, one hand on the frame for balance. She'd changed from the torn gray dress into one of the spare jumpsuits he'd left for her. It was too big, but she'd rolled up the sleeves. "Yeah, I know," Jake admitted. "I'm not much of a cook, but it's got all the nutrients you need." "Nutrients don't matter if you can't eat it," Kaylira said. A small smile played at her lips. "May I try? You want to cook? I was trained in many things as a princess. Cooking was one of them. In Valdran culture, royalty must know how to survive without servants. Just in case." 8. Jake stepped aside. "Be my guest. But I should warn you. The supplies are pretty limited." Kaylira moved into the galley with surprising confidence. Her hands reached out, finding the counter, the storage compartments, the cooking unit. "Tell me what you have," she said. Jake opened the compartments and described each item. Dried vegetables, protein powder, grains, spices, various pastes, and preserved foods. As he talked, Kaylira listened carefully, asking questions about texture and smell. "Let me feel them," she said. He handed her different items one by one. She touched them, smelled them, even tasted tiny bits. Her face showed concentration as she worked. "This one," she said, holding up a container. "And this. Also, the red spice powder. And the grain mix." Jake watched in fascination as she began to work. Her movements were careful but skilled. She measured ingredients by feel, judging weight and texture with her fingers. She used smell to know when things were cooking properly. It was like watching someone speak a language he didn't understand. 20 minutes later, she placed a bowl in front of him. The food actually looked appetizing. It had color and texture instead of just being gray mush. Jake took a bite and his eyes widened. "This is actually good. Really good." Kaylira smiled, genuinely pleased. "Being blind doesn't mean being helpless. It just means doing things differently." "I'm learning that," Jake said. He gestured to the seat across from him. "Will you eat with me? I'd enjoy the company." She hesitated, then nodded. She sat down, and he handed her a bowl and spoon. She ate slowly, savoring each bite. "Tell me about yourself," Kaylira said. "Why does a human travel alone in a cargo ship at the edge of space?" Jake leaned back in his chair. "It's a long story. We have time," she pointed out. So he told her about growing up on Earth in a small town, about his sister Emma and how she'd always wanted to see the stars, about joining the merchant fleet after she died, about eventually working for the coalition to help people. "Your sister sounds like she was special," Kaylira said softly. "She was. What about you? What was your life like before?" Kaylira's expression grew distant. "The Valdran Empire was beautiful once. Cities of crystal and light. Gardens that grew in zero gravity. My family ruled with wisdom and care. Or so I was told. I never saw any of it with my own eyes." "What happened?" Jake asked gently. "War, disease, greed. The usual things that destroy civilizations." Her voice was calm but sad. "The plague came first. It killed millions, including my parents and brothers. Then the war over who would rule next. I was kept safe in the palace, but eventually even that fell. The servants fled. Raiders came. They took everything valuable, including people. I was sold to slavers who brought me to Krill 9. "I'm sorry," Jake said, and meant it. "Sorry doesn't change anything," Kaylira replied. "But kindness does. You showed me kindness when no one else would." "Why?" Jake thought about it. "My sister used to say that the measure of a person isn't what they do when people are watching. It's what they do when no one would ever know. I bought you because it was right, not because anyone would thank me for it." Kaylira reached across the table. Her hand found his and squeezed it gently. "Then you are a good person, Jake Morrison." After that day, things changed. Kalira spent more time outside her room. She learned the layout of the ship, mapping it in her mind. Jake showed her where everything was, describing the cockpit, the engine room, the cargo hold, the small observation lounge. The observation lounge became her favorite place. It had a large window, looking out into space. Jake set up a chair for her there. "I know you can't see the stars," he said, feeling awkward. "But I thought you might like to sit here anyway." "I can feel them," Kalira said, settling into the chair. She placed her hand against the window. The vibrations of the ship moving through space. The subtle changes in gravity near large objects. It's not the same as seeing, but it's something. Jake sat with her sometimes, describing what he saw. The colorful clouds of nebulas, the bright points of distant stars, the occasional passing ship. She listened with interest, asking questions about colors and light. "What does blue look like?" she asked one evening. Jake struggled to explain. "It's cool. Like water. Like a calm feeling. The sky on Earth is blue during the day. And red? Warm. Like fire. Like anger or passion or love. These are emotions, not descriptions," Kalira pointed out with amusement. "Colors are hard to explain to someone who's never seen them," Jake admitted. "It's like trying to describe music to someone who's never heard it." "I understand music," Kalira said. "Perhaps colors are like notes. Different, but part of a larger harmony." That's actually a pretty good way to think about it. They fell into a comfortable routine. Kalira cooked meals that made the ship smell like a real home instead of a metal box in space. Jake made sure she had everything she needed. They talked about their pasts, their hopes, their fears. One night, Jake found her standing in the corridor, one hand on the wall, looking frustrated. "You okay?" he asked. "I forgot which way the bathroom was from my room," she admitted. "I got turned around." "It happens. Here, I'll show you again." "No," Kalira said firmly. "Let me figure it out. I need to do things myself." Jake understood. She didn't want to be dependent on anyone. So, he waited, while she retraced her steps, feeling the walls, counting doorways, rebuilding her mental map. It took 10 minutes, but she found her way. "Good job," Jake said. She smiled with pride. Small victories. As the days passed, Jake realized something surprising. He looked forward to her company, to their talks, to the sound of her voice, to the way she laughed at his terrible jokes. She made the lonely ship feel less empty. One evening, he was in the cockpit running system checks when she came in. "May I sit?" she asked. "Of course." He turned the co-pilot chair toward her. She sat down carefully. "Jake. Always. What will happen when we reach Coalition space? Where will I go?" He'd been avoiding thinking about it. "There are refugee centers. Places that help people who lost their homes. They'll give you shelter, food, help you find work, and then you'll leave," Kalira said quietly. "That was the plan," Jake admitted. "But if you want, I could help you get settled first. Make sure you're okay." "Why would you do that?" He met her white eyes, even though she couldn't see him looking back. Kalira's expression softened. "Friend. I like that word. I haven't had a friend in a long time." "Me neither," Jake said. "Most people I meet in this job don't stick around long." "Then we're both lucky," she said. "Yeah, I guess we are." She stood up and moved closer, her hand finding his shoulder. "Thank you, Jake. For everything. You gave me back something I thought I'd lost forever." "What's that?" "Hope," she said simply. As she left the cockpit, Jake sat in the darkness with the stars around him. He'd started this journey thinking he'd just drop her off and continue his mission. But now he wasn't so sure. The idea of saying goodbye felt wrong somehow. He cared about her. More than he'd expected to. More than was probably wise. But some things were worth the risk. Emma had taught him that too. The ship hummed steadily as it flew through the darkness. carrying two lonely people who'd found an unexpected connection in the vastness of space. Neither of them knew what the future held. But for now, they had each other. And sometimes, that was enough. Jake couldn't sleep. He lay in his bunk, staring at the ceiling, thinking about Kaylira. They'd been traveling together for almost 2 weeks now. In 3 more days, they'd reach Coalition space. Then what? He'd drop her at a refugee center and never see her again? The thought bothered him more than it should. He got up and went to the ship's small computer station. Then, almost without thinking, he started searching medical databases. "Computer," he said quietly. "Search for information on Valdrin blindness, causes and treatments." The screen filled with data. He read through article after article. Most of the information was technical and hard to understand. But one thing became clear. Kaylira's blindness wasn't a disease. She'd been born with underdeveloped optic nerves. Her eyes existed, but the connection to her brain never formed properly. He kept searching. Most of the treatments mentioned were for Valdrin doctors using Valdrin technology. But the Valdrin Empire had fallen. That technology was lost or scattered. Then, he found something interesting. A research paper by a human doctor named Helen Grant. She worked at New Terra Medical Station and had been studying neural regeneration. Her paper talked about regrowing damaged nerves in different alien species. One section specifically mentioned Valdrin patients. Jake's heart beat faster as he read. Dr. Grant claimed that in some cases, optic nerves could be regenerated using advanced human medical techniques. It was experimental and didn't always work, but it was possible. He leaned back in his chair, mind racing. Could this work for Kaylira? Should he even tell her about it? What if he got her hopes up and it didn't work? That would be cruel, but what if it did work? What if she could see? He looked at the estimated cost of the procedure. His stomach sank. It was expensive. Very expensive. More than he had in his personal account. But maybe he could find a way. Sell some things. Take extra work. Ask for help. The question was, should he tell her? Jake spent the rest of the night thinking about it. By morning, he'd made his decision. He had to at least try. And he had to be honest with her about it. He found Kaylira in the observation lounge, as usual. She sat with her hand against the window, feeling the vibrations of space. "Good morning," she said as he entered. She always knew it was him, by his footsteps. "Morning." He sat down next to her. His mouth felt dry. "Can we talk? I have something to tell you." "Oliver." She turned her face toward him, her expression curious. "You sound nervous. That's not like you." "Yeah, well, this is important." He took a breath. "I've been doing some research about your blindness." Kaylira's expression changed. Her hand moved from the window to her lap. "Why?" "Because I wanted to see if there was anything that could help you. And I found something." He explained what he'd learned about Dr. Grant's research. About neural regeneration. About the possibility that her blindness might be treatable. She was silent for a long time. Her hands gripped the arms of her chair tightly. "Kaylira?" Jake said softly. "Talk to me. Why would you do this?" Her voice came out strained, almost angry. "Why would you give me hope for something that might not even be possible?" "Because it might be possible," Jake insisted. "Dr. Grant's research shows real results. People who were blind can now see. Not everyone, but some. Shouldn't we at least try?" "Errand. And if it fails?" Kaylira's white eyes glistened with tears. "Do you know what it's like to want something so badly it hurts? I stopped letting myself want things a long time ago. It was easier that way." Jake moved closer and took her hand. "I know it's scary. But hiding from hope isn't living. It's just surviving. Don't you want more than that?" "Of course I do," she whispered. "But I've learned not to expect it." "Then let me expect it for you," Jake said. "Let me help you." She was quiet again, But this time her expression was different. Less afraid, more thoughtful. How much does it cost? She asked finally. Don't worry about that. I'll figure it out. Jake, I can't let you spend your money on me. You've already done so much. You're not letting me do anything. I'm choosing to do it. There's a difference. He squeezed her hand gently. Look, I'm not promising it will work. Doctor Grant says there's about a 60% chance. But 60 is better than 0. And even if it doesn't work, at least we tried. Kaelira's fingers tightened around his. What if I get my hopes up and then lose them again? I don't know if I can survive that. You're stronger than you think, Jake said. You survived losing your family, your empire, being sold as a slave. You can survive this too. And you won't be alone. I'll be with you the whole time. Why? She turned to face him fully. Why do you care so much about me? Why? 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 The question hung between them. Jake realized he didn't have a simple answer. Over these 2 weeks, Kaelira had become important to him. Her strength, her intelligence, her quiet humor, the way she refused to let her blindness define her, the way she'd started to trust him despite having every reason not to. Because you matter, he said honestly. You're not just some refugee I picked up. You're my friend. And I want good things for you. Tears spilled down her lavender cheeks. I haven't had anyone care about me in so long. I forgot what it felt like. Well, someone cares now, Jake said. He reached up and gently wiped away her tears. So what do you say? Want to take a chance? Kaelira took a shaky breath. Then she nodded. Yes, I want to try. Jake felt relief and excitement flood through him. Good. I'll send a message to Dr. Grant right now. New Terra Medical Station is only 5 days from our current position. We can be there in less than a week, Jake, Kaelira said, her voice stronger now. Thank you. Even if this doesn't work, thank you for giving me hope again. It's going to work, Jake said with confidence he didn't entirely feel. I believe it. Grime. He spent the next hour composing a message to Dr. Grant. He explained Kaelira's situation, attached what medical information he had about Valdran physiology, and asked for an appointment. Then he sent it off into space and waited. The reply came back faster than he expected. Dr. Grant responded personally. Within 3 hours. Captain Morrison, the message read. I've reviewed your information about your friend's condition. I would be very interested in examining her. Valdran physiology is rare to study since the fall of their empire. If her blindness is indeed caused by underdeveloped optic nerves, there is a good chance my regeneration therapy could help. Please come to New Terra Medical Station at your earliest convenience. I will make arrangements for her examination and treatment. The costs can be discussed when you arrive. Some of it may be covered by research grants if she's willing to let me document her case. Best regards, Dr. Helen Grant. Jake read the message 3 times, then rushed to find Kaelira. She was in the galley preparing lunch. She responded, he said breathlessly. Dr. Grant. She wants to see you. She thinks she can help. Kaelira's hands stilled over the vegetables she was cutting. Really? Really. And she mentioned research grants might cover some of the costs. This could actually happen, Kaelira. She set down the knife and turned toward his voice. Her face showed a mix of hope and fear. I'm scared, she admitted. That's okay. Being scared is normal. He walked over and took her hands. But we'll face it together. One step at a time. She nodded slowly. One step at a time. The next few days felt different on the ship. There was an energy that hadn't been there before. Hope mixed with anxiety. Kaelira seemed both excited and terrified. She asked Jake hundreds of questions about what seeing was like, what colors meant, how light worked, how faces showed emotions. Will I recognize you? She asked one evening. I know you by touch and voice. But what if you look different than I imagine? Jake smiled. You'll recognize me. And even if I look different than you expect, I'll still be me. Tell me what you look like, she said, so I can imagine it. He described himself as best he could. Brown hair that was usually messy, blue eyes, a scar on his chin from a childhood accident, average height and build. Nothing special. You're special to me, Kalira said softly. Jake felt his heart skip. You're special to me too. She reached out and touched his face, her fingers tracing his features like she'd done before. But this time it felt different, more intimate. Her fingers moved slowly across his forehead, his cheeks, his jaw. She touched the scar on his chin, then his lips. If I can see, she whispered, the first thing I want to look at is you. The person who gave me everything. Jake couldn't speak. He just covered her hand with his own, holding it against his face. On the 5th day, New Terra Medical Station appeared on their sensors. It was a massive structure, gleaming white and silver against the darkness of space. Ships of all sizes moved around it like insects around a light. Jake guided the Wanderer's Rest into a docking bay. His hands were sweating. This was it. The moment that could change everything. We're here, he told Kalira, who stood beside him in the cockpit. She nodded, her face pale but determined. I'm ready. They gathered their things and prepared to leave the ship. As they stood at the airlock, Kalira reached for Jake's hand. Whatever happens, she said, thank you for this chance. Thank you for believing in me when I couldn't believe in myself. Jake squeezed her hand. Thank you for trusting me. Now let's go meet Dr. Grant and see about giving you your sight. Together they stepped off the ship and into the medical station, neither knowing if they were about to witness a miracle or heartbreak. But they were facing it together, and that made all the difference. Dr. Helen Grant was not what Jake expected. She was a small woman with gray hair and kind eyes. She wore a white medical coat and smiled warmly as she greeted them in her office. You must be Kalira, she said, speaking slowly and clearly. I'm Dr. Grant. I'm very pleased to meet you. All. Kalira stood close to Jake, her hand gripping his arm. Please, sit down. Dr. Grant gestured to comfortable chairs. Once they were settled, she began explaining. I've reviewed the information Captain Morrison sent me. I'd like to run some tests to confirm my understanding of your condition. Is that acceptable? Yes, Kalira said quietly. The tests took 3 days. Jake stayed with Kalira through all of it. They scanned her brain, examined her eyes, tested her nerves. Kalira remained calm on the outside, but Jake could see the tension in her shoulders, the way her hands trembled slightly. On the 3rd day, Dr. Grant called them back to her office. She pulled up images on a screen and began pointing to different parts. As I suspected, she said, your optic nerves are severely underdeveloped. They exist, but they're too weak to carry visual information to your brain. The good news is that the nerves are there. We can work with that. And the bad news? Kalira asked. The procedure is complex and will take time. We'll need to use neural regeneration therapy to strengthen and grow your optic nerves. Then we'll need to train your brain to understand the signals it receives. You've never seen before, so your brain has no reference for visual information. It will be like learning a completely new language. How long will it take? Jake asked. At least 6 weeks, possibly longer. The regeneration itself takes about 4 weeks. Then several weeks of therapy to teach her brain to process vision. Dr. Grant looked at Kalira seriously. I won't lie to you. This will be difficult, painful at times, frustrating. Your brain will have to create entirely new pathways. Many patients struggle with the transition. What are the chances it will work? Kalira's voice was steady, despite her obvious fear. Based on your scans, I'd say 60 to 65%. Your youth and overall health work in your favor. But I can't make any promises. My you. Kalira was quiet for a moment. Then she straightened her shoulders. I want to try. Dr. Grant smiled. I was hoping you'd say that. Now, about the costs. As I mentioned in my message, some of this can be covered by research grants. Your case is unusual and valuable for medical research. If you agree to let me document your treatment and potentially publish the results, I can reduce the cost significantly. How much? Jake asked. The doctor named a figure. It was still expensive, but much less than Jake had feared. He could afford it, though it would empty most of his savings. I'll pay it, he said, before Kalira could protest. Jake. No, that's too much, Kalira objected. It's my money and my choice, Jake said firmly. Let me do this. Kalira turned her face toward him, her white eyes glistening. I'll pay you back somehow, I promise. You don't owe me anything, but if it makes you feel better, you can buy dinner once you can see the menu. He smiled, trying to lighten the mood. She laughed despite her tears. Deal. The treatment began the next day. Dr. Grant explained each step carefully. First, they would inject special compounds into Kalira's optic nerves. These compounds would stimulate growth and regeneration. Then they would use targeted electrical stimulation to guide the new nerve growth. It will hurt, Dr. Grant warned. Not unbearable, but uncomfortable. We'll give you medication to help with the pain. Kalira nodded bravely. I'm ready. Jake held her hand as they wheeled her into the treatment room. The procedure took several hours. He waited outside, pacing back and forth, checking the time every few minutes. When they finally brought her out, she looked exhausted and pale. How do you feel? Jake asked, taking her hand. Like my head is being squeezed, she said weakly. But I'm okay. Over the next few weeks, the treatments continued. Every few days, another procedure. More injections. More stimulation. Each time, Kalira grew more tired. Dark circles appeared under her eyes. She lost weight because the pain made eating difficult. Jake stayed by her side through all of it. He read to her when she couldn't sleep. He brought her favorite foods when she could manage to eat. He held her hand during the treatments and wiped away her tears afterward. I don't know if I can do this, she said one night after a particularly difficult session. She lay in the medical bed, her face tight with pain despite the medication. Yes, you can, Jake said softly. He sat beside her, holding her hand. You're the strongest person I've ever met. I don't feel strong. I feel weak and tired and scared. Being scared doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're human. Well, you know what I mean. He smiled, and she managed a small smile back. Why are you still here? Kalira asked. You could have left me here and continued your work, but you stay. Every day. Why? Jake looked at her, really looked at her. Her lavender skin was paler than usual. Her silver hair was messy from lying in bed. Her white eyes were ringed with exhaustion. And she was beautiful. Because I care about you, he said honestly. More than I probably should. You've become important to me, Kalira. I want to be here for you. She squeezed his hand weakly. You're important to me too. I don't know what I'd do without you. Lucky for you, you don't have to find out. As the weeks passed, small signs of progress appeared. Dr. Grant's scans showed the optic nerves growing stronger. The treatments became slightly easier to bear. Kalira began to hope again. Do you think it's really working? She asked Jake one evening as they sat together in her room. Dr. Grant says it is. Your nerves are responding well to the treatment. But will I actually see? Kalira's voice was small, vulnerable. What if my brain can't learn to understand the signals? Then we'll deal with it together, Jake said. But I think you'll see. I believe in you. Dr. Grant started the visual therapy during the 5th week. She used lights and patterns, gradually introducing visual stimuli while monitoring Kalira's brain activity. Your brain is responding, she told them excitedly after the first session. It's creating new pathways. This is very encouraging. The therapy was frustrating for Kalira. She could sense something happening, but couldn't understand what it meant. It was like hearing a language you don't speak, she explained to Jake. You know, sounds are there, but they make no sense. It will come, Dr. Grant assured her. Your brain needs time to learn. Jake noticed the changes in Kalira beyond the medical treatments. She'd become more open with him, sharing her fears and hopes. They talked late into the night about everything and nothing. About their pasts and possible futures. About what she wanted to see first. If the treatment worked, I want to see colors, she said one night. You've described them, but I want to understand them myself. I want to see the stars, the nebulas you talk about. But most of all, I want to see you. Why me? Jake asked, though he thought he knew. Because you're the first person in a long time who made me feel like I mattered. Not as a princess, not as property, just as me. I want to know what that person looks like. Jake felt his heart swell. Without thinking, he leaned forward and kissed her forehead gently. You matter more than you know. Kalira's breath caught. Her hand reached up and found his face, touching it gently. Jake, I need to tell you something. These weeks with you, I've realized that I don't just care about you as a friend. I think I'm falling in love with you. Jake's world stopped. He covered her hand with his own. Kalira, I love you too. I have for a while now. I just didn't want to say anything until you were better. Kiss me, she whispered. He did. It was gentle and sweet, full of all the things they'd both been holding back. When they pulled apart, both of them were crying. I'm scared, Kalira admitted. What if the treatment fails? What if I can never see you? Then I'll describe myself every day until you know every detail by heart, Jake promised. And I'll love you, whether you can see me or not. She smiled through her tears. How did I get so lucky? I'm the lucky one, Jake said, kissing her again. The 6th week brought the final stage of treatment. Dr. Grant explained that they would activate Kalira's optic nerves fully and see if her brain could process the information. This is it, she told them. If this works, she'll begin to see. If it doesn't, we'll know that her brain can't adapt to visual information. Jake held Kalira's hand tightly as they prepared for the procedure. Her whole body was tense with fear and hope. Whatever happens, Jake said, I'm here, and I love you. I love you too, Kalira whispered. As they wheeled her into the treatment room for the final time, Jake said a silent prayer to whoever might be listening. Please, let this work. She deserves this chance. All he could do now was wait and hope. Jake paced outside the treatment room for what felt like hours. In reality, it was only 45 minutes, but each minute felt like forever. His hands were sweating. His heart pounded so hard he could hear it in his ears. Finally, the door opened. Dr. Grant stepped out. Her expression, unreadable. How is she? Jake asked immediately. The procedure went well, Dr. Grant said carefully. Her optic nerves are fully activated. Now we need to see if her brain can process the information. Can I see her? Yes, but Jake, be prepared. Even if this works, it will be overwhelming for her. Her brain has never handled visual information before. It might take time for her to make sense of what she's experiencing. Jake nodded and entered the room. Kalira sat up in the medical chair, her hands gripping the armrests tightly. Her eyes were covered with a special device that blocked all light. Kalira? Jake said softly. Jake. Her voice was shaky, but she smiled. I'm scared. He took her hand. I know. But you've been so brave through everything else. Just a little bit more. Dr. Grant entered behind him. Kalira, I'm going to remove the device now. When I do, your eyes will be exposed to light for the first time. Don't try to make sense of everything at once. Just let your brain experience it. Okay, Kalira whispered. Dr. Grant reached forward and carefully removed the device. For a moment, nothing happened. Kalira's eyes, no longer milky white but a brilliant violet color, moved around randomly. Then she gasped. "I see," she breathed. "I see something. It's bright, and it moves." "That's light," Dr. Grant said gently. "That's what vision is." Tears streamed down Kalira's face. Her hands came up to touch her eyes, as if she couldn't believe what was happening. There are so many things. Shapes. Movement. I don't understand it all, but I can see it. Jake felt his own eyes fill with tears. It was working. It was actually working. "Can you see me?" he asked. Kalira turned her face toward his voice. Her violet eyes tried to focus on him. She blinked several times, her face showing intense concentration. "There's a shape," she said. "A big dark shape. Is that you?" "Yes," Jake said, his voice thick with emotion. "That's me. You're real." She whispered in wonder. "I can see you. I can actually see you." Dr. Grant smiled. "This is excellent progress. Kalira, your brain is processing visual information. Over the next few weeks, it will get better at making sense of what you see. Things will become clearer. You'll start to recognize shapes, colors, depth, colors," Kalira repeated. She looked around the room, her eyes moving from object to object. "Is that blue? The walls?" "Yes," Dr. Grant confirmed. "That's blue." Kalira laughed through her tears. "Blue. You were right, Jake. It does feel cool." The next few weeks were a journey of discovery. Kalira's vision improved every day. At first, everything was blurry and confusing. But gradually, her brain learned to organize the information. Shapes became clearer. She started to recognize objects. She learned to judge distance and size. Jake stayed with her through all of it, helping her learn this new way of experiencing the world. He showed her colors, explaining each one. Red like fire, green like grass, yellow like sunlight. She was fascinated by all of it. "There are so many colors," she said one day, looking out the window at the stars. "I never imagined there could be so many." But the moment Jake had been waiting for came 2 weeks after the final treatment. Kalira's vision had improved significantly. She could see clearly now, though still learning to process everything quickly. They sat together in her room. She'd been looking at pictures on a tablet, learning to recognize faces and expressions. Suddenly, she looked up at Jake and really saw him. "Jake," she said softly, "come closer." He moved his chair right next to hers. She reached out and touched his face with one hand while looking at him with her violet eyes. "This is you," she whispered. "This is what you look like." She traced his features with her finger while her eyes followed the movement. His forehead, his nose, his cheeks, the scar on his chin, his lips. Her expression was one of pure wonder. "You're beautiful," she said. Jake laughed, embarrassed. "I'm pretty average, actually." "Not to me." She cupped his face in both hands, staring into his blue eyes. "These are your eyes. Blue, like you said. Like water and sky. I can see the kindness in them, the love." "I do love you," Jake said. "So much. I can see that now. I can actually see it." She leaned forward and kissed him. "Thank you. Thank you for giving me this gift." "Juan, you gave me a gift too," Jake said. "You showed me that sometimes taking a risk on someone is the best decision you can make." Over the following days, Kalira explored everything with her new sight. Jake took her to the station's observation deck, where she could see the stars properly for the first time. She stood at the window for hours, crying and laughing, overwhelmed by the beauty of space. "Look at the nebula," she breathed, pointing at a swirl of red and purple clouds in the distance. "It's more amazing than I ever imagined." They walked through the station gardens, where she marveled at flowers and trees. She stared at other aliens, fascinated by their different appearances. She watched ships coming and going, trying to understand depth and movement in this new visual way. "Everything is so much," she said one evening. "So much information. How do you process it all?" "You get used to it," Jake assured her. "Give it time." One night, as they sat together watching the stars, Kaylira turned to Jake with a serious expression. "I need to tell you something," she said. "In my culture, we have a word, Thralis's car. It means a bond between two people that goes beyond simple friendship or even love. It's a soul connection. When someone gives you back your life, you become linked to them. Forever." "What are you saying?" Jake asked. "I'm saying that you didn't just give me my sight. You gave me hope, dignity, love, a future. You changed my life completely, and I don't want to be separated from you." I might possidus. Jake's heart soared. "I don't want to be separated from you either. But my work, it's dangerous sometimes. I travel to rough places. Then I'll come with you," Kaylira said firmly. "I can help. I'm smart and capable. I can learn whatever I need to learn. I just want to be with you." Jake pulled her close. "Are you sure? You could have a safe life on a colony world. A normal life." "Number one, I don't want normal," Kaylira said, looking at him with her beautiful violet eyes. "I want extraordinary. I want adventures. I want to see the galaxy. And I want to do it with you." "Then stay," Jake said, kissing her. "Stay with me. Travel with me. Build a life with me." "Yes," she whispered against his lips. "Yes to all of it." A week later, they said goodbye to Dr. Grant and New Terra Medical Station. Kaylira had completed her therapy and been cleared for normal activity. Her vision was fully functional now, though she was still learning new things every day. They walked onto the Wanderer's Rest together, hand in hand. Kaylira looked around the ship with new eyes, seeing for the first time the place that had become her home. "It's smaller than I thought," she said with a smile, "but perfect." Jake led her to the observation lounge, and they stood together at the window. The stars stretched out before them, infinite and beautiful. "Where should we go?" Jake asked. Kaylira thought for a moment. "Somewhere new. Somewhere neither of us has been before. Let's discover it together." Fiveling. Suntry. Fiveling. Long. Fiveling. "I like that idea." As Jake prepared the ship for departure, Kaylira sat in the co-pilot chair, watching everything with fascination. When he activated the engines, she gasped at the sight of the stars beginning to move past them. "This is incredible," she said. "This is just the beginning," Jake replied. "There's a whole galaxy out there to explore." Kaylira looked at him, her violet eyes shining with love and excitement. "I used to think my life was over, that I'd lost everything. But you showed me that endings can be beginnings. That blindness wasn't the end of my story, just a chapter." "And now?" Jake asked. "Now I can see clearly, in every way. I see the stars. I see beauty. I see possibilities. But most importantly, I see you. The person who believed in me when no one else did. The person who gave me everything." Jake reached over and took her hand. "We gave each other everything. You taught me to hope again too. To take chances. To open my heart." "Then we're both lucky," Kaylira said. "The luckiest," Jake agreed. The Wanderer's Rest flew out of the station and into the vast darkness of space. Inside, two people who had found each other against impossible odds began their new life together. A blind princess who could now see. A lonely captain who had found his home in another person's heart. Behind them lay pain and loss and struggle. Ahead lay adventure and discovery and love. The galaxy was wide and full of wonders, and they would face it all together. Kaylira looked out at the stars, still amazed by every sight. Then she looked at Jake and smiled. He smiled back, and she saw it clearly. The love. The promise. The future. "I'm glad you bought me at that auction," she said. Jake laughed. "Best 500 credits I ever spent. Was I worth it?" He pulled her close and kissed her. "You're worth everything." As the ship jumped to faster-than-light travel, and the stars became brilliant streaks of light, Kailira watched in absolute wonder. Her hand found Jake's and held tight. This was her life now. Adventures among the stars. Love with an extraordinary man. A future full of possibilities. She had been a blind princess, lost and alone in the darkness. But now she could see, and what she saw was beautiful. She saw hope. She saw love. And it was more wonderful than she had ever dared to imagine.